Hey everyone, welcome back to First Time Dad. Today I got to interview Jake Failing, who is head of marketing for a local company in town called Movement Mortgage. I say local, but they're pretty big. And I got to talk to him about how to handle social media with kids. I previously talked to Corey Insico about how he and his wife had chosen to eliminate social media, pretty much not have their child featured on any social media at all until they make the decision to choose so. With this interview, on the inverse, I got to talk to Jake, who prominently features his kids pretty much all the time. We got to talk about how he documents life with his kids, and he wanted to be able to share, but also to review their videos and just kind of watch again, life with their kids. So anyways, let's jump to that and enjoy. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Great. If you could you just introduce yourself to the world?
Yes, my name is Jake Failing. I am a resident of Marvin, North Carolina, and I am currently working at Movement Mortgage. Sorry for the boring parking lot shot behind me. You've got far cooler production setups on your end. So
Yeah, well, I'm trying. It's just an office. There's clutter literally everywhere on the floor except for right there.
Yeah.
Cool. So the first question I like to ask every dad to kind of get everything going is, what was your feeling? What was the moment like when you found out you were about to become a first-time dad?
Oh my gosh. So back in '84, no. So it was not 10 years ago, but then you add the pregnancy months, like 11 years ago. So it's hard to really remember. I just remember really sort of freaking out. So Paige and I, my wife Paige,
Yes.
we don't really like plan well or like, think things through well. It's more of just, I think we registered at Target before we actually got engaged, where I put a ring on her finger. Like we just sort of like do a lot of things on the fly. Some things, I think we're very organized and regimented, but something like we're definitely not. And so that one was one where we're like, yeah, what do you think? Sure. Yeah. Let's go. Throw caution to the wind, pull the goalie, whatever you want to say. And yeah, happened pretty quickly. And then just were like, oh my gosh, so this is really happening. And then it's sort of like not real for a few months because she's not really showing. Then she really starts to show, and then she really pops. And we're like, wow, this is really real. But like still like for the guy, right? You're just like, this is, wow, my wife looks different and she feels different. And okay, but then the baby comes out and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at that point right now where we're 15 days out now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like any moment, like if I end this if I don't end this, if I just run out of this room, that's probably because something is happening.
And look at you. You mean you got your button-down shirt on, your hair's
I'm
put
trying.
together. I mean, you are like enjoy these last few days of really presenting yourself well, okay?
Okay, so then I know this, but how about an introduction to your kids? How many do you have and their ages?
Yeah, so Paige and I have 3 children. So there's Ford, who's 10, Cal is 8, and June is 5. Ford and Cal are 15 months apart. So Ford just had his 10th birthday. Then we actually acted like reasonable human beings and waited a few years before we had June. So there's a little bit of distance between Cal and June. And if you go back, if you want to rewind the tape, I don't know how you're going to do this post-production, but you could play me saying that we don't really plan or think through things. And that would be an example of that would be having Ford and Cal so closely together.
Okay, so was there any difference between finding out that you were going to be a first-time dad with one or a first-time dad with two? The first time dad will probably continue to always happen, but when you find out you're getting a second or a third kid, were there any changes in your mindset?
I think the third one was the biggest change. So like truly, we were like, pull the goalie, cool. Oh my gosh, we're pregnant, and then we have Ford, and like instantly pregnant again, and we're like, well, you know what? While we've got all the diapers out, and while it's already crazy and mayhem, no big deal. Well, then when you wait like 2 or 3 years, it's like it is not like riding a bike. Like the whole like diaper thing, like it is not like, I mean, it's like, oh, how do I do this? And like everything's been reinvented, and there's new wipes and new scents and new diapers and all that kind of stuff. But 3 was more when we started trying and then got pregnant, it was like, okay. And so there was about 9 months, I think, of both of us, because we waited to find out the sex on Ford. We found out the sex via unwrapping an envelope under the Christmas tree for Cal. And it was, I don't know, are you guys waiting to find out? Or?
No, we know for the first one, right?
Okay. It's like life's last true surprise.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And finding out under the Christmas tree for Cal was like the biggest letdown ever. Because we were like, it's gonna be a boy, yay! And then wah, wah. And so there was like, we knew because we already had a boy. I was like, all right. For Ford in June, it was a surprise. And so that was like 9 months of true. I don't know. I would be so interested to hear what Paige says if somebody answered this. But like for me, it was like 9 or 10 months of like, is it going to be a third boy? And in that case, are we going to go for number 4? And the way my family is, it's all boys. We're going to end up with 4 boys. So I'm just like in my head spinning this thing forward into like, are we going to have like a TV show number of kids? But then I'm like, but then also like, what if it's a girl? And if it's a girl, like, again, like Paige and I were sort of talking about things like, if it's a girl, like, yeah, we'll shut it down. Let's shut it down. Like, you never know. And obviously, spoiler alert, it was a girl, and Paige was, and that was like by far the hardest and most dramatic, like straight out of a movie delivery scene. And she was basically like immediately like, oh yeah, you could definitely go to the urologist. You could go get a vasectomy. You're good. So I don't know. Like the first one is definitely the craziest. Like, oh my gosh. And then the first, there's parties and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But after that, it's like you find out, and there's excitement mixed with like implications. And what are those implications?
So that's I did not know this story. So how, I guess, badly did you and Paige want to have a girl?
Oh, real bad. Yeah. I mean, what I'm more interested in is like, what if we would have had a girl for number 2?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Like if we would have had a girl for number 2,
would that have stopped?
Would we have shut it down? I like the way she always would say it was like, she's like, I feel like we've got the worst last name for this, by the way. Last name is Failing, which, that's probably why Paige kept Crawford on TV for so long. But she's like, I feel like there's I can't even say it. She's like, I feel like there's another Failing out there. I feel like there's another Failing. At the time we had a cat. I'm like, yeah, it's Farley. Farley is the other Failing. So I think we're good. We could stop. But yeah, I mean, come on. Like I'm, the whole daddy's girl thing and everything. Like it's like, which she is not, by the way. June is pretty much the saltiest human being on earth, and it's like all Paige and I do is try to like get in her good graces, and she runs the show. But yeah, we definitely wanted a girl.
Yeah. Well, great transition, because June is my wife and mine's favorite Failing kid to see on social media.
Everybody's.
Yeah, everybody's. So so that goes into kind of my line of questioning for you is, I know that you like to, I don't want to say promote, because you're not necessarily doing this on purpose. You just like to show off your life, and your kids are your life. So there's going to be a moment, document, where there's just funny moments with your kids. Was there any discussion prior to, I guess, it happening about whether you should show your kids on social media, or is it just one of the things where you're wanting to show your friends and family, something that's funny that's happening, and you just want to just document it and just get it out there?
Yeah, man. So once again, no, we did not really talk about it. Probably should have. And you know, as a parent, there is no rule book, and you just have to sort of go by your instincts, and obviously coaching from others. But everybody's life, everybody's situation is different. We don't have anything figured out, and who knows? We could be like ruining our children by constantly making fun of them on social media. And we'll delete everything by the time they get phones. Like that's the plan.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely not the plan. I don't even know if like there is no plan. No, but that's how we live our life. Like us, we are wide open, and you know we let the kids make fun of us too. They're now to the point where they will say, and you've probably maybe seen a couple of videos where June says "garbage it," and we keep it on, and that's her. She screams "garbage it" because she's like, "No, that video's not good, or that picture's not good. Trash it." We still post it most of the time. But you know, they now want to see it. So now they say, hey, let me see. So we show them everything and we show it's posting. And yes, you know, judgment-free zone, hopefully, but I'm sure there will be plenty in the comments. But like, you know, they'll be like, hey, post to Facebook, post to link or LinkedIn. No, post to Instagram. And so, yeah, I mean, they're aware of social media. Look, it's my job. I work in marketing. I run our social media team. I love it for my personal brand too. Paige does it, has to do it for her job. She's on TV. Look, it's already weird enough for our kids. We go to Waverly for dinner and there's a, 40-foot banner of their mom on the side of a building. Or, we go on a train, we stop Boulevard train all the way uptown, and Fox has wrapped the trains and the signage. And so that's weird. Like, that's weird to a kid, but like, that's all they know.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been on TV for 10 years.
Right.
And so it's just normal. It's like no big deal. So, for them, a phone is just like a smaller version of the TV. So we don't exploit them. I try not to make too much fun of them, but they are clowns sometimes.
Yeah.
We just try to have fun with it. And no, there is no plan, but like, there are definitely times where like, we'll shoot something, and the kid's like butt crack is showing and she's like, and we're like, you know what? That one doesn't feel right. So let's keep that.
Yeah. Is there any, I had two questions pop into mind. Are there any like hilarious, like memorable moments that you were just happy that you were doing, like you were documenting in the first place, and now that you get to keep it because you were already like, are there any specific things that come to mind of like specific memories that you're like, I'm glad my phone was out for this already? Yeah,
absolutely. So, and that's what I love about Instagram stories. You can make highlights. I am, if anybody follows me at all, like I am like all in on Gary Vaynerchuk. Like I have been following him since the wine days, and just the way he produces his content, which is just mounds and mounds upon piles of content. And he has a team that he just trusts and puts it out. I obviously don't have a team, but I'm more about like, get the content out. So like, could I be doing, better filters, and could I be doing, funnier GIFs in stories? Like, I'm sure. I'm more just trying to get stuff out through documenting my life. And, there was a video I shot with June where we got a ton of feedback on June, where it was like 30 stories in a row of us cooking rice.
Yeah.
And I put that up in my highlights. I mean, it's up there now on Instagram. And those were all one takes. This was not me in the aisle of the grocery store, like, okay, stand here, hold this here, whatever. It's just documenting.
Yeah.
And look, should some people say like, oh, maybe that's, too much exposure for the kid. I more just look at it as like, now I get to go back and watch a hilarious video of my daughter.
Yeah.
And it used to be you run around with a camcorder, and now it's your phone. And so phone and social media sort of blend into each other. They are sort of one and the same in many regards. And the way I look at it, if I can get her on social media, those are memories that I'll have forever.
On the inverse, are there any moments that I guess there was any, I don't want to say backlash because that could be on anything, but like, were there any moments where you were like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have posted that?
No.
Okay.
No, I, honestly, and if we did, we took it down immediately. And so like she and I, because like I coach people every day on what to do and what not to do on social media, and how you can ruin your career. I mean, careers are crushed based on one bad tweet
Right.
or one bad post. So like, I mean, I coach people on that every day. So I've got a pretty good North Star.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are times when we'll post something and the other one will see it in a feed or they'll see it in a story and they're like, I didn't love that. And we never ask twice. We take it down.
Yeah.
The bigger issue is when I catch Paige like mid bite or something and I want to post it. And that's where she's like, okay, 9 times out of 10, she's like, actually, you could still post that. But every now and then she's like, you could have actually gotten a better angle of my dress next time. I'm like, okay, sorry. Sure. Next time. No, but it's truly, I mean, she and I are almost exclusively one shot. Yes, to post to our channels, but also to document. And, you know, I think for us, it's interesting, just to take this a slightly different direction. Paige was just featured in an article. I think it's mainly Charlotte audience. So Charlotte 5 wrote the article about, you know, working moms, and Paige actually takes it more to the angle of like working parents, which I think is a healthy conversation.
Yeah.
But she tells a story about how she walked in on 2 of her former co-anchors who were looking at a picture of June on social media that Paige had posted and said to her, or were basically talking about her behind her back, saying like, oh man, she's really going to regret missing these days of June as a baby. And Paige walked in on them having the conversation, and she's like, why me? Like, it would be any parent that is missing. But by the way, like, I enjoy my job. I enjoy working. This is, you know, this is how we make it work at our own house. So, you know, just be careful casting stones. So I think more that side, rather than you shouldn't be posting anything about your children like that, or, you know, that's scandalous or something like that.
Because you're taking video and photos of your kids, and now that they're at the point where they want to see it because they want to enjoy it as well, does that turn it into any sort of like screen time issues with them wanting to play with phones, or is that an issue in the first place?
Yeah, well, apparently we're staring down the barrel of that with Ford. And I mean, in really Cal too. I mean, 10, 8 years old, they got kids in their classes with phones. We're going to hold out as long as we can. I mean, that one is just, you know, I see it every day. You know, people around our office, me too, you know, we've got our heads down, we're heads on our phones. And I mean, like, I get having communication for safety purposes, but like, we're around them or they're around trusted people all the time. They don't need it yet. So, but that one's going to get real ugly real fast, and it already sort of is. Screen time is just, Paige and I are bad at that. You know, it's so easy to just put your kid in front of the TV to get work done. I think Paige and I, and I'll just say I struggle with that too, because again, I care about my stuff. So like, I care about checking in a beer on Untapped. I care about posting to my personal feeds, both about work and personal. I care about getting work done. You know, I'm one of those, I don't even unplug really on vacations, to Paige's chagrin. So like, I'm definitely not one to talk. But, you know, we've recently implemented a no screens on school nights rule. So Sunday night through Thursday night. But, you know, we're not clocking hours. We don't say anything like you only get 1 hour a day, 1 hour, not like, we don't do anything like that. We may move to that pretty soon, but it's definitely real. I mean, it started as Netflix, but then truly they've watched every single thing on Netflix, and now they're on to YouTube, which can last someone a decade. And they are in everything from unboxings to, you know, the Ireland Boys. I say that like I'm 90 years old. But the Ireland Boys, Dude Perfect, all these guys. And now they got June on it because June wants to watch everything with Joe and Siwa. So screens are an issue. We're doing the best we can. That's it.
So then that brings kind of a, I guess, when the moment you mentioned YouTube, and I don't know why it made me think of kind of where you mentioned Gary Vee earlier.
Yep.
And, you know, his big thing is, like you mentioned, document and all that, and document, don't create, all the whole spiel. Now, he also is probably has an interesting perspective of how kids should be able to start earlier in terms of getting not necessarily screen time, but just the tools that are going to become mainstays. You know, if the phone becomes a new computer, and everyone has one and everyone works off of one, then giving exposure to kids earlier could be beneficial theoretically, if that's the case.
Yep.
has that not necessarily, has that influenced your thinking? Has that changed anything that you might have thought before prior to just hearing someone else say it, and just have you kind of process the idea of like, oh yeah, this could be a true statement?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that is one Paige and I absolutely have talked about. You know, he goes even so far as to say, you know, I've heard him in interviews where they'll say like, yeah, well, don't you want your kid, you know, or else they'll say something like, you know, I just make sure my kid, you know, shakes hands, you know, and looks somebody in the eye to say hello. And Gary will say, yeah, I think that's BS. He obviously says the words, not the
yes, right.
I think that's BS. And they're like, wait, you don't want, he goes, no, I don't care if my kid, he's like, I want my kid to be a good person. I want my kid to be empathetic. You know, that's obviously a big, I want my kid to have, you know, self-awareness. He wants all these things. And he's like, yes, of course I want my kid to be nice to someone, but I'm not going to make them check the box of shake hands and say hello just because it fits some societal norm.
Right.
I'm like in the middle. I mean, I get what he's saying, but like, I also don't think that it's too big of a stretch to ask your kid to shake hands and look somebody in the eye. So I'm a little on the fence on that one, but yeah, understand the technology. Sure. I tell you the one that I get the most where I catch myself so much. And again, this is where it's like, you need a rule book, right? Is my kids know voice. And so everything's voice. Yeah. And so they'll go on, and my kid, like randomly, my youngest son is obsessed with the Denver Broncos, career North Carolina resident. He's a Broncos fan. And so he's on eBay all the time, and he wants to sell cards. He wants to buy cards. He's looking for jerseys, and everything is voice. And he says it through our Chromebook. He says it through the phone. And I'm like, no, type it. And so like to your point, voice 100% is where everything is going. But I'm looking right now out onto the floor, my team here. And for me, you know, people say like, what's the number one thing you look for? Creativity is one you can't put a price tag on, right? Sure. And that's a big one. But also knowing how to write, knowing how to spell, put cohesive thoughts together, sales copy, all the above is a huge thing. And not that you need to necessarily know how to type, you know, physically type to do that. But like, I'm more just wondering like the dependency on voice, how is that impacting someone's just creatively to tell a story just in general, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whether that's typing out Denver Broncos or saying it, I don't know, man. But that's when I find myself like, am I going to pick this battle? Yeah, I'm going to pick this battle. Like, type it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's all fair because I also watch and listen a lot of Gary Vee, and it's just like stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep, totally.
It makes sense as a person here, as an adult, but yeah, essentially those battles, the pick of like typing versus voice. Of course, voice is going that way, but I feel like you should just know how to type.
Yeah, no, but and then you said exactly, but then like, it's the same conversation as like, you know, I feel like we should run this Facebook ad. Well, that's not going to work. You need actual data. And I'm just talking about like my job here. Like, no, you need. And so saying like, I feel like you're going to need to know how to type. I'm like, are they?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Like if somebody can navigate voice well, and he's got a terrible raspy voice. So I think anyway, just voice in general for him is going to be a real problem. So it's interesting, man. And it's just, again, trying to navigate as best we can.
Have you had any incidents with any other parents that if you're with your kids or with their friends and you want to showcase off, you want to document what they're doing, but have you had any parents be like, hey, actually don't do that, or just don't show my kid with your kid?
Yeah, it just happened with my brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my brother, it sounds like, is the same boat as Corey. And so he just like, hey, respectfully would ask you to not post anything. And, you know, better for worse, that's always the default is like, hey, you know, I'm with my new niece. And so like, okay, interesting. You know, you hear all these things like people are leaning away from Facebook now, leaning away from social because it's gotten so crazy.
Yeah.
So of course I respect that. But, you know, I think just to go back to technology in general, though, you know, we will say like if a friend shows up with a cell phone, we'll say like, hey, can you either leave that with your parents or can we hang on to that? And then I know we've got family members as well. They just had a 13-year-old birthday party where they collected phones at night, and it like everyone's head exploded. Like, wait, what? But then eventually, like, the parents all were like, actually, thank you for doing that. Like,
Yeah.
you could do that too. Okay. Anyway, hey, look, hey, judgment free. Look, I'm not telling anybody else how to parent. Those are just the decisions that we're making.
No, I understand. I understand. Yeah, I mean, I feel like even getting to this point where I'm like doing this video series and then like even having my own vlogs, a lot of it kind of stems from the whole exposure for myself to Gary Vee of wanting to document life and knowing that as my wife and I decide to have a family, knowing that that's going to be part of life, and then just kind of figuring that out. So that's definitely like where I'm at in terms of finding out a bunch of different things, but also trying to figure out, I'm still trying to figure out in my mind before I even go to Lauren about it, of how to balance how much we want to document our kid publicly versus privately, and just all those things. It's going to be really interesting.
No, it's a serious question that Paige and I probably should have asked each other.
I mean, I feel like I'm only asking the question because I'm doing all these videos. I probably would have thought
Let's
about
bring on Jake, who completely shamelessly exposes his kids around. Like, let's just get the alternate angle here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so I have one last question for our time together now. What should I know about becoming a first-time dad?
Ooh, you snuck in the first time. I forgot your branding. Because I was going to say, if you're talking about multiple kids, what I tell people is,
well, tell me both. Tell me both. I'll rewatch this years from now.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much. That's awesome. All right. 0 to 1.
Yes.
Is hard.
Okay.
1 to 2 is pretty much the hardest thing Paige and I have ever experienced, gone through as a couple. Once you've had 2, you might as well have infinity kids. That's what I tell people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. 1 to 2, man. And you know what? You already brought it up that you're already talking about 2, which not having even 1 is a little nuts, Andrew, but I will roll. No, I respect that. Just keep it rolling. What we say to people is like, while they're in diapers, while you're in the weeds, keep rolling, because once you get out of it, it's really hard to get back in. But yeah, 1 to 2 was tough for us because then it was like man to man.
Yeah, I was gonna say that zone to man to man. Yeah,
there's no like you take forward and then I can go run an errand and now I'm back and I can relieve you. There's always somebody on. And then once you have 3, it's a disaster, and there's no hope at all, and you're in it. You're in it. So that's what I would say. But as a first time dad, man, I would just the best advice that I would give you is, and this is the advice that we give Paige, or that Paige and I give to people, whether they're a new couple is create your own normal. And so, I respect that you're doing this and gaining all the opinions. I love the idea, man. We're both Gary Vee guys, so I love the content. I love the whole thing. But I think one thing that Paige and I have both, I think, done a decent job of is not getting caught up in things. And it escalates real fast. Of like, is your kid in this school? Is your kid in this sports program? Wow, they're 5 and they haven't played t-ball yet. They probably don't have a shot at the big league. It's crazy. And so like we have, I think, done a good job of insulating ourselves from that by creating our own normal. And that does, yes, include, putting our kids on social media because it's just fun. And when you've got a wife that wakes up at 2 a.m. for work and sleeps in 2 4-hour nap chunks, I say 4 hours. She would say 2-hour and 4-hour nap chunks, which she reminds me of constantly. Paige, we're like ships passing in the night sometimes, and bedtime is real hard sometimes because she's got her eye on the finish line of bed herself. And so, look, man, everybody's different, and you just got to roll with what works for you and just trust your gut.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for spending some time with me and just talking through this, because I think it's really important. And like you said, we're both kind of have a similar mindset in terms of recording and documenting things in our life. So it's always interesting to hear almost a fellow perspective on it.
You got it, and love seeing what you're putting together. I used to play ultimate frisbee too, so
I just recorded another ultimate frisbee video this past weekend, so
I love it, man. I love it. Well, good luck to you guys. Excited to watch what you do or don't document.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I'm very excited to see what comes of this. So we'll see where we go.
Cool.
All right, so that was the interview. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching First Time Dad, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and please come back again for more videos with dads as I learn how to become a first-time dad. Thanks. Peace.